For the second installment of our destination development planning presentations. My name is Derek Furlan. I'm the Sullivan County Manager, and tonight I'll be joined by Penelope Whitman, the UNH Cooperative Extension Economic and Community Development Field Specialist, and Chris Seek, who is our consultant from Solimar International, that we were able to procure his services thanks to the generosity of a $20-something-odd grant from USDA Rural Development. A lot of familiar faces from the last time that we did this in December, and great to see a lot of new faces that have signed up to come through some of the various engagements that we've done between then and now. So that's pretty awesome. So thanks again for coming out. So this is an informal gathering, so please get up, refresh your drinks, come get food. Like I said before, there will be no heckling or judging if you happen to get food. You just have to be comfortable with awkward glares from about 55 odd people. But if you're okay with that, then there you go. Have at it. So we're going to just summarize what we've done between the last time we met in early December and what we up until tonight. And so the effort was mostly focused on a county-wide survey that we put out in the month of January, and that really exceeded our expectations. We had just under 950 responses, and Penelope is going to talk to us all about some of the key themes that emerged. A lot of those were on the sheets that are posted around the room. So we just had some incredible feedback, and overwhelming majority of the comments reflected the energy and the enthusiasm and the positivity that's been associated with this effort really from day one. And so we just continue to be overwhelmed by that show of support for this effort. So that's pretty cool. And then Chris is going to talk to us about, he's been working on the development of the planning. So the destination plan, what are the things that we're going to try to highlight, leverage, enhance for the folks that live here, for us, the residents, as well as people that might want to come visit here. And so that's really been in his lane, and so he's going to share his thoughts on that. And then we're going to end with about hopefully 30 minutes or so of what we're calling open mic night, and that's going to be the interactive part where we'll toss the microphone around. And if you would just identify yourself and what community you're from, and you can just share, you can ask a question, you can share a comment, you can comment on anything that's been presented tonight. You can sing a song. I guess that's certainly within the realm. Once you got the microphone, we're not going to probably stop you. So whatever the spirit moves you to do, please feel free to do. All right, so before we get to Penelope, what I have up on the screen right now is we talked about one of the other simultaneous efforts that's ongoing. And it's a regional trails plan that we've hired the Regional Planning Commission to do for us. And so that effort it's gotten started. It's in its early days of completion. And so the planner from the RPC has created a shell of a website. So it's not fully developed. This is something that he has developed to just help track the progress for anybody who wants to stay tuned from their computer or their smartphone. So it's kind of a cool thing, and so I just wanted to show what he has produced for this. And it's a little way to just show the project's progress, as it says on the screen. And it's kind of neat. So if you wanted to be more involved in that or just stay abreast of the developments, this is a way for you to do that. So and with that, I will turn it over to Penelope.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Derek. How's this sound? Is that okay? So I'm Penelope Whitman. I'm with UNH Cooperative Extension. I'm the Community and Economic Development Field Specialist for Sullivan County. And I also work statewide with my colleagues on projects having to do with tourism as development. And I had thought that, Derek, that you were going to go through kind of how we got to where we are now.
No, I say that for you.
Oh, thanks. So this work together started about 4 or 5 years ago with a project called a Regional Economic Profile. And that was with UNH Cooperative Extension and the county and stakeholders from around the county looking at where is the economy now, where do we want it to be, what needs to change to get it where we want it to be. What are the constraints? What are the opportunities? And that we had big group meetings like this. It was really powerful. We heard a couple interesting things. One of the things we heard was, well, we want to do all this, but we have sort of an identity issue here in Sullivan County. We feel like nobody knows who we are. Nobody's aware of all the great things we have here. Even some of us who live here don't know what some of the great things are that are in a nearby town. And we also heard that there are other issues. This is common all throughout New Hampshire, workforce issues, housing, broadband, kind of all the things. But this quality of life, regional identity issue took life, and we launched a crowdsourced map to ask people what was it that they had in their community that they were proud of? What did they love? We called it the Love Sullivan Project. And people uploaded photos of their favorite places. And we had maybe 150 photos with these great descriptions about what people loved about their community. This was so great to see. This is still up. We can share the link with you. You can continue to add photos. But when we looked at it together in aggregate, we just saw this mosaic of these beautiful places and a sense of, wow, this is an amazing place. This is an amazing place. We should all be proud to live here. So with that, we started to sort those assets into categories and realized that the majority of them were natural resources. They were views, they were trails, they were activities, they were being able to hike or to cross-country ski or to mountain bike or to snowmobile or ATV, all these things. And we decided that the brand for this region, which needed to be something other than the forgotten area, which somebody said to me, we were always the place that nobody knew was there, was something that was a natural asset. And the natural asset that connects the whole county from Sunapee all the way to Claremont, to the Connecticut River, is the Sugar River. It's been here since settlement days and well before, and it really is the thread that connects this whole region together, even its north and south branches. So thus, we became the Sugar River region. We always were, but now we know it, and we have a logo. I hope you all picked up a sticker. And so this project is continuing now with some organizational development. We have a destination council. We have some of our destination council members here tonight. Do you guys who are here want to put up a hand? So we have folks that have been meeting and thinking about what the mission of this organization should be. How are we going to be funded? What are we going to do? And for those kinds of questions, we brought in Chris Seek, my friend who's with Solimar International, to help us with that development, both organizationally and then for our region. So when we were here last in December, we told you we were going to do a survey of the whole region to find out, what do you all think about this place we call the Sugar River region? What are our strengths in terms of attractions? And what are our weaknesses? And what do you want to do? What is your vision? So I'm going to share with you. What do you think, Derek?
I think we're in trouble.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to share with you who responded to the survey. And Derek told you we had almost 1,000 respondents, which was really exciting. How many people here tonight responded to the survey? Yay! So this is, you're going to see what your responses in aggregate look like with everybody else's. So who responded? How do you all see this region and its assets? What is the status? How do you rate the assets? What are some opportunities? What about this perception issue? And what kind of marketing and promotional activities would you recommend? So our respondents, we did have at least 2 people from every single municipality in the county, which was great. I was really pleased with that. you know, you can look at this and say, okay, some of our more northern municipalities had fewer respondents, and that might tell us something about where they associate themselves. But in general, we had a great response throughout the county. How long have respondents lived in the county? Really cool to see that more than half of respondents have lived here for 21 or more years. And then the next largest group are newcomers, people who have lived here for 0 to 5 years. So there's an engagement from newcomers to people who have been here a long time, and I love that. So we asked you all, how would you rate these various attractions on the scale from 0 to 5? And we weren't totally generous with our ratings. I think people have a sense that there's a lot of work to do. But you can see, I don't know how well you can see that. So it's shopping, historic attractions, art, cultural performances, events and festivals, restaurants, bars and nightlife, accommodations, hiking trails, snowmobile trails, bike trails, Nordic ski trails, and fishing. And you can see that these recreational assets are charting higher than other stuff right now. And so recreational assets need less infrastructure. They're sort of ready to go, more or less. They need some stuff. They need some signage. They need some cleanup. They need some kiosks maybe, or coordination. That's what our trails plan is all about. But I think that everybody has a sense that this stuff is here and it's ready to be leveraged for all of us. So you all agreed that we have recreation activities, but we lack services. There was general agreement that we've got all this stuff, but we don't have a way to kind of collect money from people who are using these assets. So that's something that we want to look at. These are some of the comments that people said about the trails and the outdoor recreation. I have lived here almost 30 years. I don't even know where the trails are. Bike trails and connections to others in the region, bike lanes on the roads, secured bike locking racks throughout town. These are just ideas. A trails plan that integrates and adds to existing networks for all types of trail users. Well, we've got that going already. That's great. More hiking, biking, and cross-country ski trails. More public canoe, kayak, and paddleboard put-ins would be awesome. So just so many comments about how we could really improve our trails and their coordination. A lot of excitement about water recreation, salmon paddleboarding, kayak the Sugar River, fishing derbies, unified information about all kinds of recreation activities. People want to see it. This is just like a snippet of the comments. A lot of support for OHRVs, ATVs, snowmobiles, trails, more connectivity. People who are doing these activities, they want accommodations, they want trail access, they want parking. So this is a big area of interest, support for this sector. A lot of comments about Arrowhead, figuring out how to really improve Arrowhead, a partnership that can improve that experience, some staffing, maybe a magic carpet, other ideas. Another respondent suggested a large multi-sport inside complex for travel sports leagues, a lot of money there. People want a bowling alley, skating rink, roller skating, trampoline parks. People want to do stuff, very active. Festivals and events, tons and tons and tons of ideas. So many comments about all kinds of different festivals and events. Music, arts and crafts, car shows, bike shows, beer gardens, wreath making, guided foraging walks, paint and sip, holiday festivities, parades, lots and lots of stuff. This is a group that wants to do stuff together, have these events. This is a great opportunity. I think there's so much energy for this. So restaurants, accommodations, shopping, everybody said there is not enough of this stuff here. You can see with restaurants, the blue are people who agree there are not enough restaurants in this region. Here, accommodations, not enough accommodations in this region. And here, not enough shopping. There are a lot of comments about the shopping. Why can't we have a Target? We want boutiques. We want, more options. We want less fast food, more quality food, more family restaurants, more coffee shops, more ethnic food, just more, better, open longer. And then 2 different opportunities were brought up a lot. There's a lot of interest in showcasing the historical past of the region. Somebody talked about a history cruise interpreting Native American past and the manufacturing past of how we use the river for growth. Bring to light the history of the region and how it came to be through the availability of the Sugar River water power. So a lot of ideas about leveraging the history, the stories. And then a number of comments talked about the Amtrak Station. Please include mention of the Amtrak Station in Claremont as a way to travel to the Sugar River region. This is a unique asset for Claremont. Let's do something with this. And then this perception issue is interesting. One business owner wrote this comment, which I really appreciated. He said the perception, he or she, of Claremont and Newport isn't great. People make fun of these areas, and I used to be one of them. Not anymore. I feel we are headed in the right direction, and I'm excited to be part of that as a local business owner. And then another person said, this perception issue is sort of our own perception, but other people don't have that really. Other people see the potential of the region. Bringing them in, letting them see our region with their fresh eyes will really help shift this overall perception. And in the question where we asked you, do you agree that visitors have a negative perception of the destination and the attractions available? Well, people weren't overwhelmingly sure that was the takeaway. Not quite half said yes. Almost half said, I'm not sure. And some said no. So I think that's a positive because I don't think we're absolutely certain that everybody who has come here has gone away saying, oh my God. But what we do more strongly agree about is that visitors are not aware of this destination and the attractions available. So to that end, promotion. This was in everybody's comments. What do we need to do? Promotion, 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 promotion. Just came up so many times. There needs to be coordinated promotion. There need to be lists, restaurant lists, lodging lists, lists. There needs to be a walking map, family-based adventures guide, and multi-town artisan and farm goods guide. There are just so many comments about what kinds of information we need to have and what needs to be on it. And when we asked you, what's the most important marketing activity? Where should we prioritize? It was like, well, everything. Everything was just, yes, that's the most important. So organizing and hosting events. So that's back to the events. This is something that this area is really excited about. 95% said that this was very important. Social media marketing, creation of packages, putting things together to make something really fun that people just have to show up for. Photography, visitors guides, hosting journalists, videos, being repped at travel trade fairs, advertising, and all these things. So there's a lot of awareness that we need to get ourselves out there. I think that's it. There's a lot more data in the survey that I'll be sharing with you in a report. There's a lot of stuff about concerns, there's some issues around constraints, and all of that will be available for everyone to read. I really wanted to focus on the opportunities and where we see our attractions. Any questions on any of that? Yeah?
What was the most surprising thing that you found in the survey?
I think the most surprising thing was, I think also for Derek, was how positive the responses were, how much excitement was just poured into these answers. There were two questions that were long form. One was, what does success look like? And you all have had a chance to read some of those that are around the room. And the other one was, any additional comments? And, were there some negative comments? Yes. Were there more than 10 out of the 25 pages of comments? No. It was really, people are ready for some good stuff. So I think that was, because you're always afraid, right? You're gonna be like, go away. But no. So, well, great. This will be, again, there's more information here. My cards are at the welcome table. Please reach out if you want more information. Happy to share.
All right, well, Derek's bringing this up. It's great to be back in the Sugar River region. For those who weren't here at the last workshop, I had a chance to introduce the project that we're working on, and I was very fortunate to be able to schedule. I had already planned to visit New Hampshire because my mom was over in Laconia. And I said, hey, you know what? We're going to spend half of that vacation over here in the Sugar River region. So I'm excited that I'm contributing to the visitor economy. I not only have my family here of 4, we also brought another family with us of 5. And so we're staying here at the hotel, and they're over at the pizza place today, Ramont's pizza place, and spending our good money here in this wonderful community. It was great to, last time I got Derek and Penelope as my tour guides, who took me around and showed me everything. It was fantastic to be the tour guide this time and to show everyone, look at the bridge, and telling them about the history as best as I knew it. So it's obviously a wonderful place. You all know this. This is why you're invested in this initiative. You know you have a lot to offer, and there's a great opportunity, not only for attracting visitors who can spend money in our communities, but I think more importantly that I picked up on from talking with many of you is that this initiative seems like it's a way to bring out the pride that you all have individually and kind of put that out there collectively, that you live in a great place, you're proud to live here, you know why you want to live here. And I think that feeling is something that I think there's a desire to share that and shout that so that everybody knows not only do you have some amazing natural recreation areas and activities, but it's just a great place to be. And so I see that this initiative is, yes, we want to attract visitors, yes, we want to tell the world what a great place this is, but at the same time, how do we also make sure that we're not losing some of our younger people that are maybe leaving the county because they don't think the place is that great, but if they're reminded and they're seeing these messages and they're seeing people coming from outside the area, it's going to help remind them that they live in a wonderful place as well. So very excited. Just for those who weren't here at the last workshop, my name is Chris, and I have a company called Solimar International. We're a tourism development, sustainable tourism development firm. We work around the world helping communities very similar to this, what I call undiscovered destinations, where tourism and the visitor economy is kind of just starting or slow. And I'm asked to come in and try to help figure out what do we need to do to make this visitor economy take off? What are the problems? What are the challenges? What are the investments that we need to make in order to support this visitor economy? And what's fascinating from doing this in over 200 destinations and in over 60 countries is that I've learned something that I don't need to know all the answers. All I need to do is ask the right people and bring the right people together, because as we saw from the survey that Penelope shared with us, there's already a great understanding of the opportunities and also the challenges that need to be addressed here. But a lot of what you're going to hear today in my draft recommendations for what this destination development plan is going to look like come from a lot of those recommendations we heard from those that live here. But before we get into the destination development plan, I just want to kind of take a step back to kind of understand how the destination development plan fits into this overall, what we're calling the destination development initiative. When Penelope and Derek reached out, they were actually looking just to build a website. There was interest in kind of putting everything that was done through the I Love Sullivan in one place, as we heard the residents say that's needed, so that we can showcase everything that's here and just have it in one place. And I said, well, that's great, but who's going to own that website? Who's going to maintain that website? Who's going to promote that website? And then we started asking questions about how the towns are organized, the chambers are structured, and we started to realize there's a lot of fragmentation here in the county, right? Whereas you all work and you come to meetings together, you're all friends, I can tell that, but there isn't those mechanisms to support that collaboration needed at a regional level, especially if we're talking about promoting the region and all these events that we're talking about as well. So that's when I suggested, okay, before we build a website, let's look at how we can help support this destination management and marketing organization, this entity that can kind of bring together all of these different people that are involved and passionate about making this visitor economy work and seeing how we can get that off the ground and then make sure that this initiative, yes, there's some funding that came in from a grant, but that's going to end. So how do we make sure that this continues after that funding runs out? And so that was one of the first questions I asked. And I said, okay, in order for us to build this organization, one of the things that I've found that works very well is to do a destination development plan. And the reason why I like to start with the destination development plan is because while we all have different interests in this room, some of us are business owners, elected officials, some people manage heritage attractions, we all have a common vision for what we'd like to see this place become. And we know that we all represent in some one way or another parts of what the visitor economy actually looks like. And it's only when we're working together and kind of put our kind of collective ideas on the table can we start to identify what needs to happen. So yes, we know that there needs to be things with trails. That's come out loud and clear. I guarantee you that this plan will have some stuff focused on trails. But there's other elements that also came out. I mean, events, you heard of how important events are, not just for attracting people, but just for, again, that sense of pride. So the goal here is to start with the destination development plan so we can understand where are we now. That's our situation analysis. What do we have? Who's coming here? How long are they spending? Or what's their satisfaction like? So we'll do what we can to really understand the current situation. But then we want to go into where do we want to go? What's our vision for the future? In 10 years, for those who were in the workshop last time, we asked that question. Imagine it's 10 years from now. Imagine you're a reporter and you're describing what this community looks like and what a visitor's experiencing. You had some amazing visions and dreams about what you would like to see here. And again, even though everyone had different groups, there was this kind of shared vision that you started to see. But once we know where we want to go, most importantly now is how do we get there? What are those strategic actions that we need to do in order to realize that vision? And that's what the destination development plan is really intended to do, is to put the shared intent on paper and to prioritize what needs to be done in what order. So that's what we're going to do. Now, what I'm going to share with you today is by no means a finished document or a finished plan. What I like to do at this stage is just kind of unveil a little bit of the thinking, a little bit of the structure of how we think the plan should be organized, some of the ideas and some of the priorities for what should be included in that plan. But I use this as a way to just start us with our conversations. Because again, just like the survey, when it's just an open question, there's a lot of opinions. Now there's a little bit of a structure. We can get more feedback and more ideas. No, that's not a good one. Let's expand that to be something else. So what you're going to see here tonight is just intended to get you thinking and to get you to give the feedback that we're looking for. What we're going to do is following this workshop, we'll have our opportunity for you guys to provide comments and questions about this. But in addition, we're also going to prepare a shorter survey, but based on this kind of strategy. It's like, okay, we heard you. Now our plan is this. Do you agree with these ideas? What are your comments on these specific things? And not only those in the room, but everyone else who wanted to participate in this initiative will have a chance to share their opinions as we go forward. Okay, so just to go forward, as I mentioned, the purpose of the plan is really through a consensus, is to build this roadmap for what do we need to do to develop the Sugar River region destination to attract visitors while also maximizing our benefits for our local community. I can't emphasize that enough. This is not okay, we want visitors, but we have to sacrifice. I always talk about balance. Yes, we can focus on our economic interests of attracting visitors with their money, but we don't have to sacrifice in order to achieve that. we can find the right balance between how much visitors and making sure that those visitors also behave the way we want them to behave when they come to our destination. So maximizing those benefits. How we're doing this, so first is the kind of the research side of things. We look at as many plans as we can, not only here in the county, but also at the state level to get a sense of what's going on. We've also been looking at the statistics that the state of New Hampshire's tourism office has a lot of wonderful statistics that was very helpful for us. This assessment I mentioned when I was here last week, we did this workshop, and the survey. So these are all kind of parts of it. I'm going to run through these. You guys know your assets. You know how the region as a whole, from the small towns to the scenic rivers, all the different trails. I forgot to mention the Nordic skiing trails. I got to add that in there. Historic buildings, covered bridges. It's a diverse range of attractions for the visitor. And I think that's one of the things that I see here. It's not just one thing. Like when I'm over, my mom lives over in Laconia, it very much is the lake, right? That's what they have. That is what they offer. That is what everything is all about. Where you have a lot of different attractions to offer, which I think is very unique. And I love the heritage and the history and the pride of the maker's heritage. You know, New Hampshire made here is brilliant. I love that. You know, but it's not just that history, but it's also how you're kind of using those assets and celebrating them and redeveloping them, like this building we have here now, which is forever going to be one of my examples when I go talk about historical rehabilitation. But I think we're just starting. I think there's more that can be done on this as well. When we talk about the natural attractions, Penelope already hit on this, you all know this, you have amazing natural attractions. That's obviously one of the strengths of the region. Incredible hiking trails, but again, the same thing that Penelope mentioned in the survey, where are these? And when we were here last time, Zane and I had a final day, we're like, let's just go, we'll go try to find one of these hikes. You know, we had done all this research online, and it was like, there was trails everywhere in this county. But then as soon as we went out, we were like, we didn't see one sign, we were worried about where we should go. We were like, wait, the map says here, is this the right place? So it goes back to Penelope's point, just because you have the trail, doesn't mean it's accessible to the visitor. It doesn't give the, last thing a visitor wants to do is stop somewhere and be somewhere where they shouldn't be, on someone's private land, or they want to know that they're welcome and to use this trail. So that's where parking and signage become very important. Of course, your other outdoor adventures as well. I thought it was fascinating, not only discovering some of the parasailing and paragliding, but also the snowmobiling, which unfortunately I did not get a chance to visit. I was all looking for. Derek promised me on this trip I was going to have a chance, but unfortunately the snow didn't cooperate with us. So you're right. Maybe on Saturday I'll have to hit him up with
Grass tracks.
Yeah. But again, that's fascinating, and of course the mountain biking. I was really impressed with what I saw with your mountain biking community. I don't think he's here with us today, but really impressed Rob's with the conversation I had with him and his vision, what he sees and what he has and what he's done, and then also what Rob talked about was the collaboration with the town of Claremont specifically, and the opportunity to do that with other towns as well, to be able to really take advantage of the opportunities around mountain biking. The Arrowhead we talked about as well, and these other recreation trails. But of course the historic attractions are also incredible. I mean, the St. Gardens I was blown away by when I went and visited that. I just thought, wow, it's like, this is nice, and whenever you see that NPS logo, you're like, okay, there's going to be something special here, and sure enough, it was absolutely beautiful, and so very nice, and I think it's not just the beauty of that place and the attraction, but it also ties into this whole theme of the whole region as well. And then of course, number 4 as well. I'm a big fan of living history, and I just thought that was amazing, and just a beautiful setting right there on the river, and just looking at the website, looking at all the different events and activities there, you've got a great asset there as well. And the covered bridges. I know you guys are probably tired of this. You've probably seen these your whole life, and but telling you, with my focus group of my 2 families, they were blown away. They thought this was the neatest thing they had ever seen. They were absolutely amazed by this. So again, keep in mind that even though you've seen it, you've grown up your whole lives, or you're tired of them. I was driving today. I tried to take a scenic road back from Sunapee, and we took the Sugar River Road, which is the dirt road that goes along the river. And sure enough, there's another covered bridge there that was just absolutely spectacular. But then the services, right? So on one side, there's a perception that there's not a lot of services in the area. But at the same time, there's a decent amount here. It's not like you don't have anything. You've got some nice, wonderful hotels like this. I had a chance to visit a couple of bed and breakfasts that are tucked away in some of the parts further south in the county. Just stumbled into those, just absolutely stunning. Some bed and breakfasts, some Airbnb rentals that are really innovative and different in terms of how they've been created, and the RV parks as well. So you've got a foundation, I guess is my point with this. Yes, we'd like to have more because especially this is where when you get people who spend the night, they leave their money behind in taxes. This is their biggest expense when they travel, is the accommodations. So if we can capture them, and then if they spend the night, they're more likely to go eat pizza and go spend money and walk around towns as well. So that's why accommodations is so important, because it's been shown that overnight visitors spend a lot more than day visitors. Now on the food and beverage side, again, there's some great restaurants and great places, and some new places that are popping up as well. And so I think this is an area where, yes, you might want to continue working on these, but I think at the beginning you have a foundation to work with. And I also love the country stores, the general stores. I think there's something here that's unique. This is not just a little gas station, this is the feeling when you walk into the country store, the warmth of the hospitality from the owner to having local art and crafts in the store. So it's not just your 7-Eleven gas stations that so many people are used to. So I think that there's an opportunity here to really put these on a pedestal as one of your main attractions to the area. And it works very nicely with your outdoor recreation because people need to grab something to go and enjoy, and some picnic spots as well. Events. We talked about events. At first I was like, oh, they just need to focus on events. And then we started to research. Like, wait a minute, they already do a lot of events. So it's great that you do events, and that's fantastic. Some of these might not still be there, but I think there's an opportunity to build on these, right? And so whether these are, these, and I'll talk about these here as I get to the plan. But I think it's fantastic. You already have some. But I think events to me are just such a great way to build a community. I helped set up a little destination organization in our neighborhood where my office was located. I got all the businesses together and I was like, hey, this is what I do for a living. I get businesses together when we market destinations. Why don't we do this for there? And everyone's like, oh, that's nice, but we're pretty full all the time. We don't really need more money. And I was struggling. And then I realized the event was the thing that got everyone excited. The event was not only the thing that got the businesses excited because they made money when events happened, but also the residents loved events. They loved going to events. They loved to say, hey, come visit me this weekend. We're having a street festival, or we're having, this type of thing. So I think events are just such a great tool, and I'll talk about this here in a second. Okay, a little bit on the visitor side of things, just to kind of share some of these statistics. I'm not going to go into detail right now on these, but it's, as you all know, New Hampshire's second largest economy is the travel and tourism industry. So it's a lot of people coming from out of state that are coming to visit. So they're spending a lot of money. Well, $6 billion before the pandemic. That dropped to $4.6 billion in 2020. But then if you look at Sullivan County, unfortunately, it's the lowest visitor spending of all the counties in New Hampshire. So it just shows you that when no one's at the wheel, no one's driving and pushing this forward, you're just hoping that it happens, right? Whereas all these other counties, they have people and they have organizations that are trying to push forward the promotion of the destination. And so I think with just a little bit of support on this, we can see those numbers go up. And then, overnight spending as well. Just in terms of employment, it's also important. 50,000 in the state, and then here in Sullivan County, it's about 969 in 2019. Dropped a little bit during the pandemic, as we know. And summer, obviously, is the most for seasonal employment as well. Some of the trends, summertime is the biggest time of the year when most people are visiting New Hampshire, but it's a nice year-round. Like, if you look at that, that's a very nice kind of distribution of visitors. So I work on a lot of destinations where it's just the summertime, and that's all they have to work with. Obviously, you have a lot. I mean, my 12-year-old daughter said, it's nice to go to a place that's nice in the summertime and also in the wintertime. These are some stats on the overnight visitors. As you can see here in Sullivan County, the numbers are going up. So, again, keep in mind, pandemic things are a little strange in the last 2 years. But the fact that numbers are going up shows that something's happening, with the new hotels as well being developed and stuff, you see those numbers go up. Some of the target markets that we've kind of identified is obviously this outdoor enthusiasts. People that are passionate about the outdoors, that love that's a no-brainer. You have some wonderful outdoor spaces, why not promote to those? But then also families. We see maybe I'm just biased when I'm traveling around with my kids, but New Hampshire is a wonderful state for families, and I think what you have here in the region as well is also a nice little mix for what things that they can do and enjoy. And then lastly are the retirees, the older adults without children at home. These are obviously different than before. Like, our retirees now are traveling more. This is what they want to do in retirement. It's no just sitting on a golf course and playing golf every day. They're using retirement to explore, to discover new places, And so let's show them that this region has a lot to offer to them as well. Okay, so now we're going to go into the plan. Now again, as I mentioned, what I just summarized here is the beginning of the situation analysis. We'll go into more detail on this and include this in the plan. But this is really, to me, the most important. And I'm not going to go into the vision, but let me show you the structure of how we're going to put the plan together. First was the situation analysis. That's what I just mentioned. Then we're going to talk about the shared vision. What's the vision for the destination? Now, we're not going to try in today's session to present what the vision is. We're still collecting this. You guys are putting votes on the wall out here and everything. It's coming together. We're going to put together a nice vision statement that I'm sure everyone's going to be very, very happy with once that comes together. But then we want to make sure we have targets and indicators. And this is very important for any plan because we need to know if our vision is the destination looks a certain way in the future, we need to know how are we measuring whether or not we're achieving that vision. So having targets and indicators is a very important part of the plan. Then what I like to do with plans, I call this cascading levels of details or activities. We start off with these, you can call them pillars or buckets, strategic objectives. This is kind of how I organize the plan. These are like the main themes that I hear over and over and over again as I talk to people. Now, again, this is the initial draft, okay? So you might say, oh, you're missing a main theme. We should make this a main theme. So everything I'm sharing with you here today is just a draft, just to start a conversation. Keep that in mind. But under each one of these objectives, we'll have specific strategies. So if our goal is to promote the region, okay, what are our strategies to do that? What are the specific things that we're going to do in order to achieve that objective? And then under each strategy is the actions, the specific actions. So this is how we go cascading all the way down. So that's what our plan's going to look like here. And then finally, we look at implementation and monitoring. So this is how I've suggested we organize the main pillars of the plan. So these are the 6 strategic objectives, and I'm going to go off through each one of these, but just want to start off with this screen to just give you these at a high level. First is enhancing the welcome, and I'm going to go into detail of each one of these are, but just to give you a summary, enhancing the welcome, making sure people have a good experience when they come to the destination. Then developing the assets, right? Making sure that your assets that you have, like the trails, have those basic amenities that visitors need so that people can enjoy them. Celebrate through events, which we talked about, and I'm going to go into more detail on this. Attract and support the entrepreneur, and I think this goes back to our visitor services. And also, I've met some amazing entrepreneurs in your town, in this area, and they're fantastic people, and I think we need more of those, and we need those that have already come here to be successful. We don't want coffee shops to be failing. We don't want someone who puts their life saving into an Airbnb renovation, and now it doesn't work. So we have to help those that have already invested in these services, while at the same time attracting more people to help to develop further services. And then from there, also promote and market the destination. That's obviously one of the most important things that we heard, so that's obviously going to be a very important part of this. And then lastly, enhance collaboration and partnerships. I think this is one of the things I mentioned earlier, is that amazing group of people in this region, a lot of passionate people that have shared interests and shared goals, but a lot of fragmentation in terms of efforts, right? We have different organizations doing different things, and we have opportunities maybe where there's joint initiatives. I think that the Chambers, to me, was a perfect example of that, where there was a little independence there, and then you guys, out of force, or maybe the grant I think you received, next thing you know, you're collaborating, but that can continue, right? And that collaboration, you still have your own individual chambers and what you're doing. You're not merging the chambers, but by working together, there's shared benefits by doing this, right? And that's, I think, the theme here of this last objective. So let me walk through now. So these would be the suggested strategies. Again, this is kind of the initial draft, so these will be refined as we go through. So the first one is enhance the welcome. I would love to see a regional welcome to the Sugar River region right when you cross into Sullivan County. With all your different entry points into the county, just letting people know you've arrived to the Sugar River region. I think that goes a long way with kind of putting the destination on the map, not only for our visitors who might be driving past or driving through, but also those who live here. So having those entry signs into the county. Also our town, city entry signs, again, some of them are good, some of them are a little tired or hidden behind trees. It'd be great to, again, welcome to this town. We drove to some of your smaller towns, you don't even know, right? You pass through a town, we wouldn't even know we were in a town. But, it's a charming town with a great history. Let's make sure the visitor knows that you're in this town and making sure that as well. Wayfinding signs and attraction maps. I'm going to talk later about printed maps for marketing. This is more for the visitor who's coming into the destination, making sure that they know that this is the Sugar River region. Look, we've got this, we've got these towns, we've got these attractions, we've got these trails. So looking at ways in which we have wayfinding signs that tell us where to go and where to find our attractions, but also having maps that can help us understand everything that there is to do in the area. So imagine being able to pull off and see the region, see all these different attractions, be like, whoa, we were just stopping for gas, and look at all these different things that we can do here. So having some attraction maps as well. Now, visitor information centers, I should flip that around, but visitor information centers is also a great opportunity to kind of connect the region together. We have a couple of visitor information centers. We have chambers that some are doing visitor centers, some are not. But the idea of really making sure that everyone has, like I went to one town, I forget which town it was, but it was the country store that acted kind of as the visitor center. They were very proud to share information about what to do. They're the ones who connected me with the bed and breakfast in the area. So, that idea of making sure that each town has a place where visitors are kind of pointed to, where they can go and discover the things to do in the area, the services that are available to them, and of course, all the different attractions as well. And then as you start seeing all these visitor information, you know, okay, I'll just go over here, and once I get to that town, I'll just stop in there. And so anyways, now the libraries potentially could be used as a partnership on that. We've seen this work in other places where the library, where there isn't a physical visitor information center or staffing for that, you can use the library as a role for that as well. Another one is destination beautification initiatives. This is just making the destination look nice, right? Cleanups, this is paintings, this is sidewalk repairs, the things that just, little things that we kind of we get used to. We see it all the time. It's just like, that's the way it's always been. And then all of a sudden someone comes along with a fresh paint of paint and fixes up the bench or something, and the place looks so much nicer. Having grass in some of the areas in between the roads and stuff like that. These little things that are not that big of investments can really have a huge impact on communities, especially rural communities. And then lastly, I threw this one in here, value of visitors' public awareness campaigns. And I think this goes back to just reminding everyone who lives in the area that visitors are good. We welcome visitors. We're happy to have them. I've had some wonderful hospitality since I've been here from anyone that I've run into. I think overwhelmingly, the people that I've met at least have been welcoming to me and very excited. Oh, you're not from here. What brings you here? So there is that kind of foundation to build on. But again, how do we elevate that even further? I've seen places where people put pins on, ask me about our trails, because I'm passionate about our hiking trails, and they wear the trail when they're serving coffee in the coffee shop. So there are ways in which you can activate your community, just like we saw with I Love Sullivan, to get them to recognize that they have a role to play to make visitors feel welcome and to help them discover what they're looking for. Okay, next is developing our assets. And I would say that, this is an exciting one for me. I think the hiking trail network, we've already talked about it with Penelope. You've got these amazing trails all over. They just need a little bit of support so that they actually become visitor ready, right? Whether, as Penelope said, we need to make sure that they're accessible, that there's signage, that there's trail markings, there's, just people know that it's available. And then also linking some of these together. I think there's been some initiatives of creating long distance hiking trails where you're connecting trails to each other. I think that's a fantastic opportunity. So again, just the more hiking trails and the more people are aware of them, the more attractive the destination. And of course the snowmobile circuits as well. I think this is very exciting. I know you have this all over New Hampshire, all over the New England, but at the same time, this is a great opportunity to build on what's already here, but also looking at the stops. This is one of the things that we picked up on. We were up in Vermont on the way down here yesterday, and there was like this little brewery, and they had this little kind of little outside kiosk, there was like a little cabin for people, and it was all snowmobiles. They had a snowmobile, map inside and everything. So what are those services that maybe it could be created along the trail, or how do we connect the trail to those restaurants and stuff that are in the area as well? The mountain biking trails and parks is another one I think you can build on. The work that's already been done, just kind of keep going with this and develop that further. Heritage walking tours was another suggestion here. I find the history of some of the towns fascinating. But again, if I'm just getting out of my car, getting ready to have lunch, can I walk around the town and kind of stumble upon like a signage that tells me about this historic marker that kind of weaves a story? So, we have these in where I live, where it's like, You basically have these points of interest, and then it tells you about that point of interest, and then on the other side of the sign, it talks about the whole region and what the region's all about. So just making it accessible so people can understand and appreciate the heritage of the area. Revitalizing main streets. I think this is, at the end of the day, I know there's work already being done on this, but it's like a continuation, right? If we want visitors to spend money, we have to make sure our main streets are open for business. You know, that's what it comes down to. Because as much as we like to think visitors will go here or go there, they want to go to a place where they park and they walk. That is what visitors like to do. And so main streets are obviously one of those areas, not just here in Claremont, but Newport as well. They're just having that concentration, if we can, where we're clustering services together to create that. And not just services, our galleries, historic buildings as well, but those main streets are extremely important. The artist colony I thought was fascinating. Name probably doesn't need to stay like this, but like this idea of building on the history of the Cornish artist colony and what it was and what it did in terms of attracting people, and knowing that there are so many people now, especially that are retiring, that are looking for this. That are, I have a bed and breakfast in Virginia, and we paired up with a local guy who does artists. He's a painter. And I said, hey, would you put on workshops for me on the weekend? Can I just put your name here and then you can do this? He's like, yeah, absolutely. And next thing you know, I've got people coming because they want to learn how to paint with a professional painter that lives in the area. That's amazing. I didn't even know he lived in the area. And of course he lived in the area because it's a beautiful location, beautiful mountain vistas. So of course you have quite a lot of artists, I'm sure. I've seen some of your art in art galleries and stuff. So how do you kind of, elevate that a little bit? So again, don't worry about the name. The idea is really to focus on the arts, elevate the arts, showcase the arts, really make sure that that art, again, just like our hiking trails, it's accessible, right? It's one thing to have artists in your community, but if visitors can't interact or experience them or visit their works, then it's not like it'd be the same as not having them at all. So how do we make the artist communities more accessible to the visitors? And then the scenic roads. This was another kind of suggestion here, again, just from my stumbling around your beautiful county here, of getting in the car and just driving, and some of the roads just absolutely breathtaking and stunning. And so, I was telling Derek this, I looked into this. The New Hampshire Byway obviously has a process for designating a scenic byway. You nominate its application. But when I looked at the scenic road, it said any town government or county government can designate a scenic road. So it's like, why can't we just put our heads together and identify what are the scenic roads of the Sugar River region, so that when people are coming here, that can be the attraction. Just get in the car, drive around, visit our beautiful towns, and one stop here, there's attractions along the way that are connected as well. And I think that that's one of the things that, again, when Derek was my tour guide, he's taking me everywhere. He's, okay, now I'm going to show you this, now I'm going to show you this. But it was the in-between, it was just the drive that was, for me, just as wonderful as the actual attractions themselves. So what we're talking about is turn that into a product, turn that into an experience that's accessible for a visitor. Now again, like I said, this is just a draft, so there are other ideas you might have in here. The last one I put on here was the Claremont Riverfront. I think you have a tremendous opportunity to build on what you've already started here with this, but when you look across the river, you look down the river, you have so much potential with this river. It's just absolutely spectacular. And again, a draw for drawing people, getting them off the road, being able to walk across that bridge from the visitor center into the town, having stuff here. I think you've got a tremendous opportunity to do something. And I'm a big fan of, a lot of work I do is these public-private partnerships. So how can in this case, government land, be made available for a private sector concession, or can we do a purpose-built, type of development where maybe we do a master plan and we know that we want to have a river kayaker, we know we want to have a brewery, we know we want to have an arts craft type store. And so we kind of build all that in and then go find the partners for each one of those components versus just waiting for someone to show up one day and with a couple $1 million saying, okay, this is what I want to do with the river. So the idea is take the lead. Take the lead on what you think that could be done there. So again, those are just the beginning. I'm sure everyone in the room probably has another 10 different ideas that we can add to that list. But like I said, this is just to get us thinking and getting us started. The next is celebrate through events. First is support and promote existing events, right? We saw the list, we heard about this, we know that there's a lot of events here. That needs to be a big part of this Sugar River Region initiative. The mountain biking race, again, was a great success. I don't think that's every year. I think it was like a once, it did well, Yeah, so it's, is this coming back? Okay. Great. Well, this is an example. It's like that sounded like it was great. Events take a little while. That's one of the things, especially with the mountain biking race. It's like the first year it gets so many people, Next year gets more people, and then it's like that word of mouth. It takes a couple years for an event like that to really get it to take hold. But that's a great one. The summer concert series, I think we heard that from some of the surveys. Just having live music on Saturdays or Friday nights or something, closing down Main Street to be able to allow for pedestrians to walk and be able to have street-type festivals with vendors out there. I did this in my neighborhood, and we did it once a year. We called it the Columbia Heights Initiative, Columbia Heights Day Festival, and it was just a celebration of our neighborhood. And everyone came out. Everyone came out to celebrate it. We had the face painting for the kids, and we had the adult beverages for the adults, and everything else in between. But I think there's some great opportunities here. Where my bed and breakfast is in Virginia, their Main Street does a third Thursday of the month music series. So every third Thursday of the month during the summertime, there's music downtown. Everyone knows it. Every business promotes it. Everyone in the community goes out, puts it on their calendar, says third Thursday of the month, we're going to go out and celebrate live music. And so I think there's a great opportunity for that. But maybe not just here. I mentioned in the surveys, the rivers too. You've got some beautiful settings for a beautiful, a concert series. And, I think about the fort, for example, could you do something there? Some of the other places as well. Over the river and through the woods, we heard about this event from back in the day. It seems like a great one. How can we bring that back? What would that take? Sometimes you don't have to be the one who puts it on. It's just finding that partner who can come on and has the idea, has the contacts, just needs the location. This art and literary festival concept, I've seen these literary festivals work really well, and it just seems to me like in a place like this, there might be a very strong interest for something like this, where you're basically attracting, authors. They're doing readings. They're talking about books. At first I heard, I was like, who does something like this? But then I listened to it. I listened to these places, and they've become very popular. These literary festivals, and combining it with art as well. The Craft Makers Festival. It seems like I read after I did this that Sullivan already does this once a year. But this idea of having some way to showcase and highlight the craft makers in the region, and again, making it an attraction for people to want to go. Holiday market and lighting in December, just making the whole month of December a holiday festive season. Again, my little Main Street and where my bed and breakfast is, it's lit, it's beautiful. So when people come to my bed and breakfast, they're enjoying the experience because they can go drive through that Main Street and see those beautiful lights. Okay, and then of course those businesses are benefiting because everyone's going shopping there instead of Target. Another idea, that's it on the festival. So again, these are just some of them. I'm sure you guys have more ideas for this. All right, just to finish up, attract the entrepreneur, make retail space available and affordable, provide incentives to support Main Street revitalization. So there's interesting programs you can we can develop to look into creating those incentives for helping people move in. Assist with access to financing grants. So it doesn't mean that the organization or the government has to provide it directly. It's just being able to point them to. There's oftentimes a lot of grants and financing available, but if you're from outside the region, you might not even know about those. Promoting small businesses to visitors, that'll be our marketing side of things, workforce development support, and then also investment, visitor company investment opportunities. So if you identify, it'd be great if we had someone who did this, who offered this, then letting those potential investors know that that's looking there. Now moving into the promotion and the marketing of the destination, the website we've talked about is very important. The visitor guide, this is like a printed collateral piece that would be available, so as someone's staying in this hotel, they would be able to flip through and see all the things to do in the area and learn about the region and what makes each town unique and special. The map, having a printed map that's available so that people can discover and understand and walk around. Social media and storytelling, just telling stories about the destination, highlighting the people in the communities, using storytelling as the main way to attract attention and telling stories about the place. Earned media and influencers, this is working with our public relations, attracting journalists from some of our target markets, inviting influencers to come to the destination, experience it, then they go back and tell their audiences about what a great place this is. Niche event marketing, so if we're going after, for example, the mountain biking, that's an easy now path to focus on mountain biking people because we have an event, so let's focus on those that are interested in mountain biking to come out. The attraction pass is more like a gamification. We're seeing a lot of destinations do this now, where you're creating this almost like a game, an incentive to get people to, how many places have you been to? How many trails have you hiked? And so this could be not just for visitors, it could also be for our residents, where you're literally trying to check off as many as you can and enter to win a prize. New residents welcome box, as you have those new residents coming in, those realtors would love to send something to them to introduce them. I'm sure our chambers would love to support this as well, just to make sure that they know about all the things to do in the area. But then I was going to suggest building on, I Love Sullivan, having this Why I Love the Sugar River Region marketing campaign. So take that kind of ask that you did and turn that into, a way in which we can promote the region. And then lastly, partner with the New Hampshire State Tourism Office. They have a lot of ways in which destinations can take advantage of some of the things that they're doing at a statewide level to promote the tourism in the region. So how do we take advantage of those? And then finally, the collaboration. First is building on this alliance of the chambers. We want to keep that going and strengthen that. Creation of this Sugar River Region Destination Management Organization or Destination Organization. And I also suggested to Penelope that we expand the collaboration with the University of New Hampshire. So we've got a great, Penelope's been a great resource for the town and the community. Let's see what else the university might be interested in collaborating with. The New Hampshire Tourism Office as well. Again, making sure that we take advantage of the different resources they have. And then regional marketing initiatives. So whether it's across the river, being able to promote the region as a whole, or the New England region as a whole, there's different partnership opportunities to be able to bring Sugar River region into those efforts. And so that's a quick, very fast summary of our destination plan. I don't even call it the destination plan. That is the initial framework for the plan with some ideas to get us thinking about these. And like I said, what we're looking for now is for you guys to share your thoughts, opinions. What did we miss? What do you maybe not agree with that maybe has been presented or suggested that you really have a concern with? And again, not just those in the room here, but others as well. We'd like to try to make sure we get this information. Yes.
Say who you are. Hi, I'm State.
Yep. There you go. Yep.
Hello. Okay, I'm State Representative Judy Aaron. I represent the towns of Ackworth, Goshen, Langdon, Leominster, and Washington. So as a state representative, looking at this, I'm starting to think about, what can be done legislatively to help in this effort. And I know, from the standpoint that we can say lower rooms and meals tax and make it, less expensive for people to do. But also, I'm trying to think of some other legislative measures that we might be able to think of to help in this effort.
Yep.
And I wanted to ask you where you've been doing this in other places, what kind of legislative solutions or
Sure.
participation have
Absolutely.
you been
No, great question. So, I think the first and what I always say to governments is prioritizing the industry, the visitor economy industry is step one. If we don't prioritize it, then you just ignore it and no one's doing anything about it. So the fact that we already have this commitment from the counties, from the towns, hopefully the state as well to support this area, that's the step one, right? I think there's a lot of work that's being done, as you can see here locally, that would be great to try to connect to some of those statewide initiatives. As we know that there's a lot of initiatives designed to try to support certain regions and different areas. How do we make sure that this area can benefit from those? For example, we talk about revitalizing the main streets, attracting entrepreneurs, right? Maybe there's already an existing initiative or program at the state level that the towns or the county could participate in order to support that specific idea. But in terms of legislative priorities, the first one that I am really advocating for with all of our clients is this idea of introducing the Tourism Improvement District legislation. This started off, it's taken wind across the entire United States. Massachusetts was just launched the legislation to allow for this. What it is it's built off the business improvement district model, where it's like the businesses who are in a downtown area recognize that we need to work together to improve our business area. So therefore, we're willing to self-tax ourselves. We're willing to increase our taxes on our own business in exchange for managing those funds. That's the big difference, right? They don't want the money just to go to the government and then hope that it comes back into the industry. So these tourism improvement districts are created to allow for communities to come together, and if they decide that they want to do this, and there's a certain percentage of businesses in the area, then they then create this improvement district, and then that increase, whether it's a property tax or if it's the rooms tax, and that increase then goes to this organization who then drives the marketing and management of the destination. So that by far is probably one of the biggest priorities. As we're talking about the destination organization, this is the concern I have. It's like, okay, how are we gonna fund that? What's that gonna look like? Because talking to the chambers, we know we can't rely on business membership. That's not gonna work, and we don't wanna compete with the chambers. So that's, you know, it's nice that we have bigger businesses in the area that are supportive of what we're trying to do. That'll be nice. But again, having a dedicated source of funding that feeds the organization that's driving this whole initiative, that would be the biggest priority if that would be possible. And then from there, I would say the other things would be some of these kind of goals, like looking at this riverfront, you know, looking at trying to do this. Like, there's only so much that the county and the town can do. What can the state do? What programs already exist, and what's that? So, but I'm sure some Derek might have other wish lists of what the state might be able to do. But the fact that you're here is very important, so we're very thankful for that. And
Well, we're
appreciate it.
always looking for, you know, these kinds of enabling legislation where, you know, you say to an area, the state can allow you to do this kind of thing, it's okay, you know, but it doesn't mandate that you do.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So it's voluntary based.
Sure.
Yeah.
Hi, Ben Nelson, Commissioner, we have a multi-generational farm, and there's 260 acres of conservation easement, and we're really excited about trying to develop the trails and stuff as part of the forest plan. And for the rail trail, you need to add dog sled and horses. And
Yeah, okay.
we're told by the local tax shop that places where you can park a trailer and ride, so that's something
Okay, excellent.
we want to do and stuff too. But and a lot of talk about paper maps. My kids are in their early 30s. I don't think know how to read a paper map. If it's not on their phone, it doesn't exist. So you need to
Absolutely.
work on that. And some of the scenic road designations prohibit development. So you need to worry about what, you know, it's tough to put telephone poles on certain scenic roads.
Okay.
So,
I was just thinking more of a marketing, like, let's just make this a nice
yeah, well,
road.
there are designations that make it tough. We're
Yeah.
excited about it and excited about the trail aspect that we need to work more on, because we have a year-round farm stand.
Yeah.
And trying to figure out a way to monetize it.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up, because that was actually one of the, in our service inventory, we actually created a category for that, the farm stands and pick your own farms, because we noticed in our research that there's quite a few, you know? So again, most people, is that open? Can I go in there? It's like, you know, you see the maple syrup sign, but they're like, wait, is it open? Like, I don't know. And then I go pull up Google, it's not even on there, you know?
Yeah, so we can do the, you know, separate parking for the trails.
Okay.
And biking, the horses, but and a way to monetize that without being obnoxious too.
Yep. Okay, great. Okay, any other questions or comments that you want to share? Yep, over here. Just introduce yourself first. That's all.
Yeah, my name's Tobin Menard, and in conjunction with the historical, markers for places and stuff, I think it's important to include people that have lived here or came from here, from the area. My example is Stephen Austin came from Newport. He was the first and only Secretary of State of Texas, and he's the one that negotiated for Texas to join the U.S.
Absolutely.
So that's something that a lot of people don't realize. They don't know what they can take pride in until because there's a lot of famous people that come from the area.
I love it. Yeah, that's a great idea. All right, thanks. Okay, anyone else have any comments or questions over here?
So my name is Dana McGrath. I work for Southern New Hampshire University. I work remotely because I work online. I chose to live in Claremont because we went remote and I've fallen in love with the community and just the area, and it was affordable. So I guess a lot of the campaign, like targeting obviously families for vacations, but also millennials. I mean, our pets are our children. We don't have extra expenses. Just that kind of including that in the campaign. Digital maps that was mentioned. Anything that's printed is probably on the floor of my car. This is always on me. So just that kind of stuff important. And also staying, I want to know where I'm staying is safe. It's either somewhere really classy that might be a little on a price range, or I don't really want to stay in an RV park.
Yeah.
So name brands that I know of Hilton, those kind of things. Hilton Garden Inn, that's affordable in the middle of the road. Is gonna allow me to want to visit somewhere rather than oh, you can go to this Airbnb, stay in someone's house, or you can spend 200 plus for a night. So that kind of stuff is important.
So how did you choose Claremont? What got you to choose that?
I was living in Manchester.
Okay.
SNU went remote because of the pandemic, and I rolled the dice. I was like, hey, well, maybe we'll stay remote, and I could afford to buy a property here. Couldn't touch rent in Manchester, and that's what brought me out here. And then the community has made me stay. So and of course, because I have a house, but the community. So thank you.
See, that perception everyone thinks is out there, that negative perception, isn't necessarily true. Okay, any other questions or comments, concerns?
Please feel free, it doesn't have to be, right, because we want to hear from as many of you who have just anything you want to say.
I guess one question I would have is, before we get to the strategies, if we go back to how I've organized these, do you feel like these 6 are kind of the big priorities that we've heard, or that you think that need to be the emphasis of what we focus on? Yeah.
Hi, Andy Lafreniere, and I'm actually very pleased to see enhance the welcome and develop the assets as priorities first, because in so many instances that I've been involved with over the years, everybody wants to market first, right? But if you're marketing something that isn't developed already, it's just an empty promise. So I think that's really appropriate to categorize and inventory what we have and develop what we have here. And it's kind of a build it, they will come sort of thing. But I think if you do it the other way around, you set people up for disappointments. Yeah. I'm really glad to see that.
And people always ask me that. What do you do first? You develop it, then market it, and I always say you do both. Do them at the same time, right? You have stuff you can market today that you can start marketing. But
So I'll follow down the list. One of the things as the city manager of Claremont is here is, the events, the next one.
mm-hmm.
Claremont's investing a lot in Pleasant Street and some of the redevelopment. And it's going to be a nice development, but it's not going to do much for the city unless the events are there to support and draw the people to make Pleasant Street what it can be.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But we also talk in our organizational meetings that there's a lot of nice events throughout the whole county. So coordinating those, and bringing people together, I think that's a really important part of this whole thing.
Yeah. One of the first things with the event activity we should look at is an event calendar. Right? Let's just look at what's on the map right now, so we know. So if someone's getting ready to plan an event, they know. Oh, don't want to do it this weekend. That's the same one. Going back to enabling environment kind of question as well. When I tried to do our neighborhood festival, it was painful to go through all the government requirements to close down a city street and all the permits I had to require. That event cost me like $20,000, $30,000, and it was just like, that's before I get $1 from sponsorship or anything. I had to just raise that just to pay for the city requirements. So if events is a priority, like how do we make it easy for those event organizers so they know, hey, I've got a great idea for an event. They can come and say, here's what we want to do, and then here's what the process is for closing down the street. And you don't always have to close down the street. That's just sometimes for special occasions. Okay. Any other comments? Yep.
I don't need the microphone. Hi everyone, I'm Courtney Porter. I am the school social worker for SAU 6, proud graduate of Stevens High School. Multiple generations of my family have called this home. And I'm really loving what I'm hearing, but I'm wondering, how are we engaging the youth? Because I feel as though we can't talk about the growth of our community without starting with our youngest members. How are we including the school system? How are we making classes at the high school about engaging in what the history of community is? So my hope is, this is really great work, and I'm happy to be here, but I feel like we can't talk about growing without bringing up the young humans with us.
That's a great point. It's a fantastic point. And I've seen there's different initiatives I've seen in other places that have struggled with this as well. There's this one group called Passports to Success. It was like an initiative by American Express and Hertz Rent-A-Car and Hilton, I think, were behind it. And they created this foundation, and they built a curriculum that could be introduced to a high school, just to let people know their career path. Because everyone thinks of tourism, they think of waiting tables or cleaning rooms, and they don't realize that there's a whole career opportunity out there and what that could look like. So, that's just one example. That's one organization. I think they're actually based in Connecticut, where we could just look into what would it take to get that curriculum into the schools. Obviously, the schools would want to have an interest in that. That's one way. I've seen other ways where you've created like this idea of the field trips, right? Obviously, a lot of schools have field trips. A lot of times the schools are limited because of the cost of those field trips, right? And so if there's an opportunity and an industry that's engaged and wants to support that, then is there ways in which those who manage these attractions might be able to make it more accessible for some of our students as well? And I think events too, right?
I just want to put out there real quick while I have everyone's attention. April 15th is Stevens High School's Community Service Day. So if you are an organization within our community, and on April 15th, if you are looking to engage with high school students, we're looking to connect with organizations. And so we want to put our students out in the community to give back to our community. So April 15th, if you need some young humans, let me know. I'll bring them to you.
There we go. See, that's our destination beautification project right there. Yes, sir.
Hi, Patrick Adrian. So I just want to kind of make this observation because when the survey was first shared, I put it on some of the community websites, and I was really surprised in one of our Sullivan County communities, I guess a negative reception to the whole idea. Now, and it's, I know that there's some people that really, this is kind of different from, people say, oh, they don't want people coming in. I noticed there are, in particularly, well, probably in all of our communities, but it might be kind of more predominant than others, it seems like a lack of understanding of what this is, what destination economy is, what tourism economy is, because when you put this out there, it sounds like a lot of people, they see tourism the way that you might go see Conway in New Hampshire, where it's like it floods in the summer and it shuts down. They don't, the people, and understandably, they're not buying, some people are not buying into this. And if that's the mentality in some of the whole communities, it really shows how much I think we're going to have to start kind of selling it to really, I think, explain what this is, because I think people have this idea, they don't believe it's going to produce an economy, and I'd like to kind of see all communities buying into this.
Yeah, no, that's a great point, and obviously something that's very concerning here. Do you want to comment on this first, and then we'll pass over to Nicholas here, because I know you saw a lot of these survey responses. Anything you want to?
Right, so there were definitely comments in the survey from respondents about fears and concerns. And I talked about, Derek and I were actually having this conversation yesterday, and I said, wow, I was really excited because the fears and concerns weren't overwhelming. Because they could be. They could be like, I'm really afraid this is going to change my community for the worse. I'm worried that the trails are going to be overrun with people. I'm worried that cost of living is going to go up. Just all kinds of different anxieties about what bringing in, or I'm worried that my community won't be recognizable. Just lots of concerns. So there were concerns. For me, none of them were over 50%. And most were quite low. And when I put my report together and finalize it, you all have access to all of that. But I think you made a great point, Patrick. There is this educational component. Many people think of tourism as sort of old school tourism, like tour buses rumbling through your town and people walking around and leaving trash and litter. The whole idea about a destination management organization is that it's management, it's planned. We are planning this together, and we are going to decide who we're marketing to and what kind of experiences we're offering. So this is up to us. But I agree that there is an educational component to explain this is sustainable tourism. This is tourism that enhances communities.
Yeah, one of my good friends was the executive director of the DMO in Sedona, and she had a problem all the time. People came there as visitors, fell in love with the place, and then they lived there, they moved there, and then they complained about the visitors who come. And then she would, in her business card, the back of her business card, she had the stats. Tourism contributes to this much in tax revenue, this much in our fire department's budget, you know? So it was like her constantly letting people know about why this economy is important. But at the same time, also recognizing those concerns. I think that's the other point. We can't just ignore them and just pretend like they don't exist. We have to recognize them, and we have to make sure that we find that response. Sorry, let's go. Yeah.
Nick Kowalski. My family's in a business that heavily relies on tourism traffic, and I know what I hear from incoming guests. Is there a mechanism which we can collect that information that we're hearing of what else they would like to see or what they feel after their experience in the area, what they feel is missing?
Yeah.
Again, I know what we hear all the time, but it would be very nice for me to hear what somebody in another community might be saying.
Yep, absolutely. What's your business? Oh, nice, excellent, okay. Yeah, so that question is a very important one, right? What do visitors think about this place? You know, are they happy with the experience? How much are they spending? You know, like that's something that we really want to know. What are they spending on when they're here? You know, so this is where the visitor survey becomes very important. In every destination that really is taking the visitor economy seriously, they have programmed in a way to collect this data from visitors on a regular basis. This is an example of stuff that we could look at with the state of New Hampshire because they're collecting this information on a regular basis, but not necessarily at the level that we might want to see here in this area. So there's different ways that this can be done. One way is we could tap into our high school students and train them so they can go out and do intercept surveys at certain places where they literally are stopping people and saying, hey, would you mind sharing some information about your visit? And you literally just interview them very quickly and gather some data. You got to be careful on that one because obviously there's seasonal issues, right? Weekends versus weekdays, but there's ways you can factor that in. Universities are also a great partner for that. Other ways that are low cost is you can just ask, you know, every accommodation, every attraction, hey, before you leave, you mind filling this out for us? And then each accommodation partner is filling that out and collecting that. So that's another way to do it as well. But I think what you're raising is an important point, is that for us to measure the success of this initiative, we need to make sure we're asking the visitors about their experience, whether they're happy with it, what's missing, right? If I'm an entrepreneur and I'm looking to build, you know, invest in something, then I want to know what there's all the visitors saying is missing from here. So I think that's a great point and something we'll make sure is included.
How do we capture that, Chris?
So that's where you have to go into this visitor survey. You have to have a visitor survey mechanism.
How do you capture that?
How
Right? How do you so we have two homes, one here, one up in Coas, and I'm not convinced that your numbers are entirely accurate when it comes to the numbers of wintertime visitors that are in the state,
Yep.
that slide. And I'm also concerned that you don't have any ATV or dirt bike,
Yep.
trails, this is part. But I also know, I also understand Derek is not, he lives in an area that's kind of a
Yeah.
I don't think it is.
Yeah, but in terms of how do you capture that, which is what you first started with, Lynn,
Yeah.
and what the gentleman over there was talking about, we could develop a short survey instrument for our Airbnbs and inns and visitor-facing businesses that they could begin using right away to ask, what have you enjoyed, and what would you like to see more of, that we could use as part of our, he's leaving now.
I was just, Nick, did you hear what I said?
I actually have a booking for an escape room game.
All right, great. Well, I was just saying that maybe we can develop quickly a tool for you to have at your business to start collecting that information.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, and I think, you know, with you might think, well, if I'm just asking my views, what's that value? But if you know you're part of and everyone else is doing this, and all the information is getting aggregated, we're all going to benefit from the sharing that information, then people are going to be more likely to help support that data collection.
I've truly learned more about the area from people coming in because they're telling me of stuff that they've gone and seen.
Absolutely.
So,
Yep.
thank you.
Yep, absolutely.
Thank you.
Yep.
I'll second that. Lifelong, I mean, we spent a few years out of county in Milford, New Hampshire, Portsmouth, Rhode Island, and Dover, and God, these are great. They're close to everything. This is that where my son-in-law is a software engineer for COVID. They were neighbors. We didn't see them for 20 years because of the school system. But they're back as a family, and I'm rediscovering my daughter's on the internet looking for stuff for my grandkids to do, and I'm rediscovering stuff in the area
Escape rooms.
that she's finding and helping the kids do.
Yep.
And another thing that way is workforce is huge. We have friends visit from Colorado, let's go out to lunch. A lot of the area restaurants aren't open for lunch because they can't find enough help to be open for lunch.
Yeah,
So
yeah. That's a problem all across the country right now, all across the world, I should say. But in rural communities, it's really a challenge. It is a big challenge. Yeah. And this goes back to how do we get the youth involved, starting with the high school age, all the way up into the vocational schools and stuff, at community colleges. It's just being able to create that connection between your needs and the supply. But we need some supply too. But no, I'm glad you brought that up about the trails too. And again, this is why I wanted to kind of share this, right? I didn't get introduced to some of those trails. I didn't even know horseback riding was a big thing here, and there's opportunities to do so. So now we know. So this is why we're having this event. So that's why I wanted to again share. I always say that the consultant's job is borrow somebody else's. Yeah, there we go.
And it's Sullivan.
And here's the question or the challenge I have for all of you is, can it be accessible to the visitor? Right? That's what it comes down to. Like, as much as Derek spoke about snowmobiles and stuff, it's like, it's great, but if I came up here with some friends, could I rent a snowmobile and go riding? No. That's not accessible to the visitor. So we have to think about ways in which that might be.
I'm not sure how they find it. Look at the Massachusetts plates behind Burger King on the UTV. You can't ride them. They told me you can't ride them anywhere in Massachusetts, so they come. If they're not going to go out county, they come to Burger King and ride those two.
Another comment over here? No.
Hi, Ann Campbell. I am a small business owner. I live here in Claremont, own a house. We came to this area by choice about 6 years ago, and we literally put a string in the map, drew a circle, and Claremont landed in the circle, and I said, okay, that's a big enough city for me. We can go there. So, it was a choice, and now that everyone else is working remotely, it's a really good choice for a lot of people. What we need, though, is housing and staff. And I don't know that you would address either of those problems in this kind of group, but I just wanted to bring it up so people think about the problem that it's great to have a tourist destination, but we don't have cashiers, we don't have servers, we don't have.
Yeah.
It's tough.
It is. No,
Getting staff, as a small business owner, is just really tough right now.
What's your business?
I have an assisted living facility in
that's right.
Charlestown.
Yeah. Okay, fantastic. All right. So going back to the statewide, what can we do on a legislative side of things? How do we make more affordable housing? How do we make it more attractive for youth to move into the area? In DC, there was this one neighborhood that was very blighted. No one wanted to live there. No one wanted to invest in there. The city wanted to develop this area, so they put up and developed an apartment complex, and they made it for artists. So if you prove your income came as an artist, then you got subsidized rent. It was basically $300 a month or something ridiculous, and all of a sudden, the whole artist community flocked this apartment building, and then next thing you know, coffee shops are opening up, and now this neighborhood is beautiful. It's wonderful, and it's kept its soul too. So it's the U Street corridor in DC. Okay, I know we're past our hour here, so I don't want to keep you guys longer, but I want to thank you all for coming and sharing your presence. Being here and coming to this, filling out a survey, it shows that you're interested in this, that you care about this initiative. That's the most important thing. Now we got to just make sure that the plan we develop is the right plan, and then most importantly, we got the right people behind it too. Okay. All right, George, you want to take it away for the final remarks?
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you.
Hi, I'm George Eben. I'm a commissioner in Sullivan County. It's a privilege. I want to thank everybody for coming. It's great to see community get involved with county. This initiative started 5 years ago, and probably two of the key players, I want to give a shout out to them, is Penny and Derek. Two new additions to the county at that time, which really started this economic county-wide program going. And the quality of life is very, very important because that will bring the needs of the county together. If you don't have good quality of life, it's harder to attract new business and new people. So we think it's very valuable. county's very committed to this entire process, and we're very committed to working with small businesses, entrepreneurs, anybody in the county that needs assistance or needs help. Feel free to call the county or deal with the county because we're there, and that's what we're there for. So take advantage of what we can offer, and we'll do everything we can to help your programs and your businesses or whatever we can help. We'd be glad to do it. So thanks again.
Thank you, everybody.
And thanks, one quick shout out for the Common Man staff for hosting us again tonight. It was great. We're still kind of free, so I don't think they're going to kick us out of here necessarily. So please feel free, hang out, talk to Chris, talk to Penelope. You can try to talk to me, but I'm going to be stuffing my face at the food. But thanks again for coming out, and we'll keep you posted when Chris is back in town, hopefully in a couple of months for the next one of these. So have a great night.